Good morning, everybody. It's Norma Cowie here on my YouTube channel. And today, once more on Norma Talks, we are going to be looking at numbers 5 and 6 of the tarot. Now, the tarot has 78 symbols altogether. 22 of them are what we call the Higher Arcana, which is the higher learning and the laws and lessons, especially the spiritual ones. And the 56 Lower Arcana is like day-to-day life, how day-to-day life works. We have gone through 1 and 2, 3 and 4 so far. And although this may not be the ultimate way of looking at them, there are different ways. And so what we do is we look at what do all the number 5s say, for instance. Now, number 5 energy is scattered. Think of my fingers going in every different direction. And so it has a lot to do about scattering your energy and what you're doing with that. So the first symbol that we look at is the 5 of Wands. Now, the 5 of Wands is very much where your mind, because the Wands is always mental. When your mind's going here, there, and there. And I'm sure all of us have experienced that. We want to do this, but maybe we shouldn't do that because that's not the thing to do, or we should go this way or that way. And so the mind becomes scrambled. And so it's kind of like the wand is always about what the mind's doing. And this does not get you where you want to go, obviously. None of these are grounded. So if I remember rightly, yes, they're all up in the air, scrambling with the other one. I always found it interesting that this particular one over here stands by himself with his wand, while the other 4 are basically fighting. And he also is the only one that has you might say a headdress on. It's not really a headdress. Around the third eye, where the third eye is. Again, that usually signifies a certain amount of knowledge or awareness. But all their feet are really planted well. And it's, very often we get very stuck in their ideas. And then even in our own mind, they begin to fight. They begin to go on about, well, what about this? And what about that? And what about the other? Trying to find the answer. And actually, that is not a way to find an answer, because you really need to know where it is that you're actually heading. So remember, the wands are your thinking. Now, the cups, they are the value, whether you're happy or sad, which means how you feel. Here in the 5, you've got a tall man and dressed in a black robe. And he's got 3 cups turned over, which he's mourning, and 2 cups behind him, which he's not looking at. There's a lot of symbology in this one. There's a river of life, and on the other side of the river of life is the castle of dreams. When we get depressed, when we get sad, or we feel something is lost, what will tend to happen is we grieve that. And when we grieve that, we are not open, as the symbol suggests, to turn around to see what is actually over here. I'm on the wrong side of the card. Yeah, that's about what happens. We get caught up with what we've lost and what we're grieving, and we don't turn around to see what else is there. But to get to the castle of dreams, say, to get to your goal, you're going to have to turn away from the sadness. You're going to have to turn away from the regret, all that, in order to get the bridge across the river of life to the castle of dreams. I don't know about you, but in my age, we've had times when we have these depressions that will come on, and sadness. We lose somebody, or something doesn't work out the way we want, and we'll get very sad. And it's appropriate for a short time, but not for a long time. If you remember back in number 3, the three cups, actually number 4, there's 4 cups. But the concept here is that if something occurs and your cups fall over and drain out, in other words, all the vision, all the belief, all those things that you have The key is we need to know how to let that go, how to turn across the river of life, which is the emotionality, to the castle of dreams. So it's always like, do you have a goal? Always have a goal or not? I find a lot of people, when I ask them about their goals, it's like, what goals? They just live day by day. But if you don't have a goal, if you don't have something to work towards, if you don't have something that is there that's getting you going, then what ends up happening, you end up feeling like the Five of Pentacles. Actually, we should be in the Swords next. So much for me having them all sorted out. So when we get to the Five of Swords, again, look at the clouds in there. They're all scattered all over and they're dark. Now, swords are problems or challenges. Two swords are lying on the ground. The man is actually holding three, two across his shoulder, one in his hand. So we've gone from three swords, a couple of swords, to now three swords and two on the ground because we're fighting. So when we're sad, when we're upset, as in the Five of Cups, and we're not looking or creating a new and different goal, what ends up happening is that we end up creating more hassle. We will push people away. We will not be open. We will not, engage in conversation that's effective. And what I find with this card very often, the sky, everything is all, it's just a rough time. And it's even like the wind in the person's hair here. Some of the what they've paid attention to, the artist, Pamela Coleman Smith, like the windy, they're even going against the wind. Like they're against everything. It's like my way or the highway. And so they just upset everything. And even in the river behind here, because remember the river of life shows up in quite a lot of the symbology, it's like very rough, like there's a lot of roughness. So then the Lower Arcana cards, they're all when it comes to the numbers 5, very scattered, just like the N5 energy. So then we get to the Pentacles. Now, Pentacles are the material affairs of life. There's your money, your house, your car, all that which you can see, feel, and touch. So what's happened here? We've got two people out in the cold, in the snow. And it's like one's crippled, one's like a beggar and cripples. Like in the old times, that's what happened a lot. And what is up here is the church window showing 5 gleaming pentacles. So here you are out in the cold. So what do? How do you shift from being out in the cold to go into the warmth of the church, which is the church? That's a church window. And the church is just symbolic of a place where you could go to get warmth, comfort, food, or whatever it is you need. But very often when you get depressed and when you get agitated, you don't see that. You get lost in your own mind of your validation or what should have been right and what wasn't right and how did that work and how did this work, etc. So this is where the number 5 is very often when you're doing a reading, everything looks pretty good. And then these 5s kind of crop up and you go, oh my goodness, what's going on here? Because they are very significant in how, what, when, and where. Also, when you think that from 1 to 10 is basically what the Lower Arcana symbols represent, 1 to 10, is what happens is right in the middle, right at number 5. And so often when we start off, we're enthusiastic, we're really anxious of where we're going, and we're, wanting to get going and get it done. And then things start happening that is not always flow, is not always coming through. And then we hit this depression, we hit this, wanting to lash out, and then feeling defeated. So when we shift to the Higher Arcana, which is the philosophical element, the first number 5 is the Hierophant. Now he's the teacher, the spiritual teacher. So that's how I kind of see myself in some ways, a spiritual teacher, teaching teaching the laws and the lessons of life. And that is represented by the keys down here, which you may not see, but it's way down there. There's cross keys of life. In front of the Hierophant, and there's a lot of symbolism around the Hierophant. His crown is triple, and on top of that, he has the W, which you may remember in the Ace of Cups. Now it's here again. Knowledge from above coming in. He's got his hand raised in benediction, his right hand. His left hand holds his order of knowledge of what he has. And before him are two what we call prelates, or two people who are learning. And if you notice on the back, I'm going to bring that a little closer here. On the back of their tunics are these wide yellow like Ys. It's a kind of going back. There's roses and lilies. Now, in the in the Magician, we talked about roses and lilies being the aspiration. So these monks, you might want to say, I'm stumbling over my words here. They are aspiring for the knowledge that the Hierophant can give them. Could be Hierophant, could be priest, could be rabbi, could be whatever. Down here are two keys. Again, not very clear unless you look at it really closely. And they're looking for the keys of life. There's a lot of symbolism in here, but the main thing is that more knowledge is needed. That was the key I gave that symbol, actually, was the need of more knowledge, more awareness, more understanding. And the teacher gives you that. Like, I know when people come in to learn from me over the years, it was like we start basics and then we move through into the deeper things. A lot of people think they're on a diving board and they want to jump off and get all the information, bang, but it doesn't work that way very well. That's why we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, where we are today, through the stages that you can go through as you grow and learn and how they apply. Definitely the Higher Arcana has the real depth learning, but you've got to understand the basics that you are confronted day by day. And if you don't understand those, when it happens, you get caught up in the emotionality and leave it. So understanding that there is a commitment that comes, that's why those prelates are there. They make a commitment to learn from the person who knows. Now, the next number 5 is number 14, because 4 and 1 make 5. I like this particular symbol because it has a lot of growth in it. So I'm going to, again, pull it close here as I talk about it. An angel, because it's got wings, which has a centerpiece on his chest of a triangle within a square. So, and again, it's just symbolism of growth. And around the head is the nimbics with the light. So there's a certain amount of knowledge here. 2 cups where the energy is being passed back and forth. He's also sitting on a pool of water, standing on a pool of water. 1 foot is in and 1 foot is on the ground. This is a balance point where they can understand emotionality, but they're also grounded. There is also this little pathway that leads out, gosh, my fingers are all backwards today, to the sun in the background. You can see that. And there's some 2 irises there and the flowers on the other side. The key with this card is balance. Now, let's think about this. In the other 5s and the Lower Arcana, nothing is correct. Everything, there is something more has to be done. Change of perception, change of lowering your defenses, dealing with your grief, getting your head straight, all of that. Then comes the Hierophant that says there is a way to do that. And now, in this one, number 14, which 4 and 1 make 5, the Temperance is bringing things into balance. Oh, I forgot to mention, I'll show you this again. The nimbus around his head is like the sun showing, like this guy's achieved. So what has he done? He's had to take all he's been through the sadness. He's got the emotionality, that pool of water understood. He can balance on that. Our emotion, let's talk about emotions for a moment. We are emotional beings, even though many of us like to think we're more intellectual, etc. The essence of, and through the tarot, it shows over and over, that we are really emotional beings, and we need to have that energy understood. And just like in the old days, and I mean old days, they used to use water to create like electricity or moving things around a bit, and like it was utilized. And very often people forget that in the water is our emotion. Water is how we are. Now, I always talk about feelings as how our body talks to us. That's the feelings. But when feelings are not addressed and they grow bigger, what ends up happening, they become emotion. And we don't always control or deal or cope with our emotions. They tend to fly. If you're a person who flies off the handle, if you have a person that makes quick decisions based on a feeling in that moment, that usually means you're not in command of them at all. That's why whenever I was teaching, I would start people off with dealing with their feelings that their body was talking to them, because that's the first, to me, level. But the second is, what are you doing with your actual emotion? Emotion is stronger and can tend to overcome. And it all starts, like everything does, with the mind. And then when we look, if you were to lay out all the fives: confusion of the mind, sadness of the mind, defensiveness of the mind, feeling out in the cold, nobody cares, and then coming into an awareness that there is a power that you can use. And in that power, as you learn how it works, then you come into balance and can start working to what you really are wanting to do. So 5 is your scattered energy. Now, the next number after that, excuse me, I'm going to have a sip of water here, is number 6. Strange, eh? 5 and then 6. Now, 6 has movement in it. 5 is kind of stationary and stagnant. They're only the ones that are out in the cold and not taking themselves into the warmth. They're all stagnant. There's no movement. But then we come to number 6. And if you ever look at the number 6 of how it's drawn or anything, there is a movement within that. And so we see that first represented in the 6 of Wands. Man on a horse, carrying a laurel wreath of victory around his head and on one of his wands. There's a little bit of symbolism with 2 wands on one side, 3 on the other, which is divided, but I wouldn't get caught up in that too much. It's like a matter of, like, this to me is, I always say, is victory is assured. You're on your horse, you're on your way, everything is in alignment. You've gone from the 5 of wands, where everything is scattered, to now they're all in alignment and you're following the leader, so to speak. Everything is back as it needs to be. So victory is assured. Doesn't mean that you're going to get there, but basically it's assured because you're heading in the right direction. Doing that which is correct and workable is really important. So ones are always the thinking. What's the thinking doing? Where's the thought? And that's the driving. And you probably heard me say this before. When I'm doing a reading for someone and when I rearrange all the symbology like this, and I say, the wands are the structure of your house. This is your framework. The cups is what fills it in, because it's the emotion. And that's what fills the walls in. So that what you see here, now, always one thing's with the symbol, I always smile, because if you look very closely, they're like little hobbits. Little woman who has gloves, the glove on one hand, which shows memories. These are like talking about memories that are very sensitive. So they're treated gently. And then the bigger person is handing her one cup that has one little flower in it. The number of the leaves there can be also symbolic. But in the front, they have 4, I believe it is. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4 flowers, one up on a stand and one he's handing to her, which is 6. But they're also inside the castle. And the castle kind of hasn't really appeared too much, but it's like it's there. So in other words, this is memories. Now I'm going to put this down, and I'm going to talk about memories. We guard our memories very closely. Those are the ones we really like and enjoy. They are really guarded. There are some memories we don't want to look at, we don't want to think about, and yet they need to be resolved in order to have an easy, clean way of going. But in this particular symbol of the Six of Cups, their memories are secure. The memories are there. And it's however you want to perceive it, but it's inside the castle. So that they are kind of protected. And we do that with memories. We protect the memories we want to remember. Unfortunately, sometimes we want to remember some things that maybe better not to come get to some resolution and let them go. But whatever. The Six of Cups always says that's there. Now, the Six of Swords, very different. Now we're on a journey again. Less like the Six of Wands, but this time we're in a boat. If you look closely on this side, I always have my wrong fingers on these things, and then I get messed up. Over one side where my knuckle is here is rough water. So we're coming out of a rough time. The boatman is steering the boat, a lady and a child, across the river of life to the other side. The lady is all bent over. The child's just sitting there. The boatman is slowly and surely getting the boat across the river to the other side. So this is a journey. How do we handle our sadness? How do we handle going from one phase in our life to the next phase in our life? Do we move through it or do we not move through it? This one shows that we're moving through it. We may not be happy about it. We may be still very sad, depending on what other symbols are around it. But there is movement. And I find when there's movement, there's progress. So there is about moving forward, like taking action. And I'm really like it when people are taking action. Because if you're going to get stuck in something, then you're going to end up in depression. And then until you finally get to the point of starting doing something. And doing something sometimes is just realizing this is the way it is. Now, what am I going to do about it? What am I going to do about it? Where am I going to go? What am I going to do? Now, the Six of Pentacles, if you remember last time, the Five of Pentacles are out in the cold. The beggar and the handicapped. In the old days, they were called cripples, but it's a handicapped. Here they are now in front of a successful merchant who's distributing money. He's got the scales of justice over one head, and he's putting coins into the other one's hand. And there's coins around him. Whenever we see the scales like that, there's a judgment going on. Like, are you worthy to get? Have you done worthy deeds? Have you done the worthy things? If you're full of anger and angst and kind of wondering where you're going and what you're doing, doesn't always come your way. Like you think that it's my turn. I've run into people like that. Well, they have had it, so I should have it too. But the law out there that works has nothing to do with regular law in the world. It's like, what have you contributed? What have you done? Do you have pure thinking? Is your mind open to receive the greater glory? Are you doing the best you can? Or are you just being stuck? So I always find with this particular symbol, the Six of Pentacles, what is around it usually is a bigger key than the symbol itself. The symbol says there's a possibility of money in particular, because pentacles tend to be about money coming your way. And and if you think of the journey here back in 5, we've got people out in the snow, no accessibility to the wealth that's up on the top here. And now it's being distributed and they have an opportunity of receiving. But it doesn't say they will receive. Well, one's getting it, but we don't know if the other one's going to get it. So again, that's why when we read more than one symbol. The least readings I do is usually three. That's why when we're doing mental mind treatments, I ask for three numbers because it gives a bigger picture. Now, when we jump into the higher arcana, the number 6, and I want to go back to the number 5 first here, was the Hierophant, right? More knowledge needed. Number 6 is, why do we need more knowledge? We got to understand how we work. Man here represents the masculine mind, conscious mind, has to go through the subconscious mind to get to the superconscious mind. If anyone's done meditation, they talk a lot about getting to the superconscious mind. But what I found a lot of people were wanting to do was go from consciousness to up there and didn't make it, because you must get the subconscious mind, because that's your power base. Everything is in the subconscious. Boy, have I ever had to work with the subconscious for over the years for my clients, one way or the other, because that's the way to get there. This mental cloud here is the mental confusion that goes on often between the conscious and the subconscious, or man and woman. That can be that way too. But above, the angel here has this 6. We're not there yet. We're the number 12. There's this scarf element, and the leaves. Sorry, the wings, and then the sun. But look at the arms of benediction over these two here. But again, look at this big raised little mountain in the middle. Now, remember, the tarot talks about loads of things in life. So very often, the Lovers comes in as confusion, emotionality, wanting more. It's really a picture of Adam and Eve to a large degree. Adam in front of the tree of life, woman in front of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. But it's to going beyond that. And the thing is, the man's looking at the woman because that's the way through to get to the superconscious. And people who try to just jump from consciousness to the superconscious usually run into some problems. It's like you need to understand yourself. If you don't understand yourself, if you don't understand how you respond or how you think, even if you don't like what you're thinking, if you don't understand it, you're going to just keep doing it and doing it and doing it again and again and again. The lessons of life often are the hardest things. Now, what I found very interesting when you look at number 6 is the Lover, the first one. And the next one is number 15, which happens to be the Devil, which is a higher order of number 6, Lovers. What happens when we get out of control of our emotions? What happens when our anger takes over? What happens when our jealousy takes over? What happens when we give up our power of the higher good for just being whatever we're going to be? It took me a long time to understand the Devil symbol. The emotionality, raw emotionality and control. And I just want to point out here, that's why I'm close here again. The flame from the Devil's hand there lights up the same things that we see in the Lovers behind them. The tree of knowledge. Their tails represent the trees that they stand in front of in the Lovers. Pamela Coleman Smith, who drew these, I mean, her consistency is phenomenal. And it's like they're bound by chains to the Devil thing. And the Devil is emotion and control. It's not like somebody there that's, but it's like our emotion, which has showed a little bit through here, a little bit through 5, a little bit in 6, but this is full blown. This is when you get angry about everything. This is when you're depressed no matter what. This is when nothing makes sense. And very often it's just a matter of really, because the answer lies within the symbol, and that is unhooking yourself by taking these chains off around your head, wherever you're stuck, wherever it's like you can't, when you can, sorry, I have to back up a minute. When you can't see how to have a resolution with whatever's going on, when you feel like you're absolutely stuck and there's absolutely no way out and about, that's what we would call the devil symbology. There's always a way out. Here, it's unhooking yourself from where the mind has you caught, because that devil represents the mind. Might not think it because it's emotional, yeah. But what's the mind doing? The mind is the dictator, the director. And if the mind has given that up and you have plain emotion, the only way back is to bring that back into command, bring your mind back into command. And when we look next week at numbers 7, 8, you'll begin to see a little bit how that works, because it's like knowing the whole element of how those numbers work and what they are showing and where you are and where you're heading and where you're going. Tarot shows the way if you know how to use them. If anyone is interested, I do through my website, you can get a copy of my first tarot book sent to you in a PDF form, and you just download it and you can begin to work with tarot. I use a Rider-Waite deck, but there's other decks out there. I also have a second book called Exploring the Patterns of the Tarot, and then I combined a lot of things in a third book on the tarot as well. So I've got 3 books on tarot, but the first one's a good one to start at the beginning. And if you were interested, just go to my website, normacowie.com, and you can order it, and I'll send it off to you fairly quickly, put it that way. So the journey here is what I'm trying to explain is that through the numbers, there is some understanding of how we progress and how we work. And next Wednesday, we will be looking at 7 and 8, almost at the end. But it's like understanding that. And then we'll look at them from a different perspective and put the journey together a little bit differently. But I think we need to understand the full complexity of the different elements that goes on. The journey of the Higher Arcana for me was eye-opening when I really sat down and allowed the information to come into me. Not just because my teacher has said this was this. I went, and so I would look at them and think about them, and then I would let the inspiration come in and show me, sometimes through my own life, how the symbology interacted and what was created and what wasn't created. So that is what I think I'm going to say, wind up on that. And I just want to say hi, Karen B. Good to see you this morning. Thank you. And I hope that some of this explanation resonates, because I think it does resonate with us if we allow our minds to open up a little bit more to, maybe the dark side of ourselves. Where we don't want to let go of certain feelings or resentments or all those kind of things. And it's only by clearing ourselves. And to me, forgiveness is the biggest thing on that. But we're not there for forgiveness yet. Forgiveness comes a little bit later in the journey. Also, I want to just say I will be back on Sunday with a Sunday thought, but on Monday with mental mind treatments for sure. So you have a good few days. Every day. Let's make every day a good day. I don't know. The weather is still being really weird here, but snow higher reaches already, so it's creeping down. And I just wish you well. So thank you. Thank you also for subscribing. I just got a letter from the creators and saying that I had 7 new subscribers last month. Thank you very much for subscribing. Also, for those of you that give me thumbs up, I appreciate it and value it. So you have a good day today and for the rest of the week, and I'll be back Sunday. Right? Thanks. Bye now.